Hello, hello, hello. Hey, friends. Svava Brooks here. If you're watching the replay, thank you so much for stopping by and checking this out. I am a trauma recovery coach, and I love to hang out here on Periscope and YouTube Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where I support fellow survivor thrivers on the healing journey by walking through my book, Releasing Your Authentic Self, one day, one page at a time. So again, if you're here watching the replay, thank you. If you are here live, please say hello. Please let me know that you're here so we can welcome you and celebrate you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, Irish. How are you doing? Hey, Lana. How are you doing? Hey, everybody. Hey, Wanda. And again, just to let you guys know, I'm got 2 live streams going at the same time. I'm going to do my best to keep up with any comments or questions. But if you're curious to learn more about my coaching, where I support people in recovery after trauma, you can visit my website, svavabrooks.com. I provide one-on-one coaching, and also I'm a huge fan of groups because we need people, and we heal in communities, in loving, connected communities and loving support. Thank you, Iris. I appreciate that. Very sweet of you to say. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But let's start with Happy New Year. How are you guys? Have you recovered? Recovered from the holidays? What's new and good? What's new and good? Did we finish the last year on a high note? Are we ready for the new year, for the new decade? This was the most down-to-earth Christmas and New Year's that I've had in a long time, and it was delightful, I have to say. I have learned, sometimes we learn the hard way, but finally I have learned just to hang on to the traditions that make my heart sing, that make me feel happy, and that we as a family come together and decide, okay, family traditions are good, but when they become, too much about stress or keeping up with things, we back off. So it was very low key. I didn't even make it to the mall this year. And in between Christmas and New Year, I went on a little mini retreat with a couple of friends, and that was my Christmas present for myself. I bought 3 Christmas presents this year, and it was just perfect. So I went on a hike, had some good company, some fun, made a lot of good food. So all the things that nurtured my heart and my soul and my spirit. So I'm ready for 2020. What about you? How about you guys? Are we ready? Are we ready? Thank you, Wanda. Wanda is commenting over here on YouTube. I had shared some pictures on Iris is ready. Yay. I'd shared some photos on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm coming to you from Portland, Oregon today, and where I live. And but I went 4 hours east, and there's some beautiful, beautiful landscape here in Oregon. So did some hiking, and it was just beautiful, very beautiful. And we totally lucked out with the weather too, because it was mild, relatively mild. And on the way home, it was a 4-hour drive back into the city afterwards. And on the way home, it was torrential rain. So we totally lucked out. So somebody said here, I don't think I'm ready. Bobby from Texas. We have another Bobby here. Bobby's not ready. Never been. Here it's beautiful. Yes, Oregon is beautiful. Absolutely. I moved up here. I say up because I was in San Diego, California for so many years, and I missed the seasons. I needed some seasons, some weather. So Portland, Oregon is definitely it. And a few of my friends tried to warn me when I moved. It's like, Svava, you've been living in the sun for so many years. Do you think you can tolerate all the rain? Little did they know, growing up in Iceland, right? I am used to the rain. So Bobby is from Washington State. Hey, Bobby. We have another Bobby that is also Bobby, but from UK. Yes, John. Hey, John. We are talking about post-traumatic stress. We're talking about trauma. We're talking about recovery. So glad you're here. Please, if you have any questions or comments, if you just came on and missed it, I am happy to answer any questions about the healing journey. I'm a trauma recovery coach. Today we have our topic of discussion, day 2 from our book. I've written 2 books, Recovery Healing Guides for Survivors After Trauma. Today we're talking a little bit about our feelings, how to express our feelings in a healthy way, but I'm also curious to hear about your healing goals for the year and any questions you may have about recovery. I'm happy to answer if I can. And also, if I don't know the answer, we have a community here. Maybe they know the answer to the question. So let's see. I'm keeping an eye on 2 streams of chats here. Sue, hey, hello again. Good to see you. I just came off I did a chat in our our Facebook group and just a little bit ago. Texas Bobby sounds so much cooler than Paxton Bobby. Well, Texas Bobby is actually from Washington, so he's not from Texas. But Bobby, there's another Bobby here on YouTube that is excited that you're here. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Wanda says, it was ironic that you were talking about being seen, and I was so anxious being live and journey to the heart. I had to leave. It felt like a panic attack coming on. Oh, I'm sorry, Wanda. Be gentle with yourself, my friend. Practice a little self-compassion or grounding. Do whatever you need to help your nervous system to calm down. Do whatever you need. You can do a little bit of tapping. Tap, tap, tap. A little bit of... Slow down your breath, exhale deeply, feel your feet on the ground, take a look around the room, right? Try to trick our nervous system into when we get anxious. We spin up into our heads, right? Our body takes over. Hey there, Happy New Year. Glad you're here. So tap, 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 Wanda, even though I'm feeling anxious. Yeah, I was sharing earlier on Facebook, one of my goals this year, or my intentions this year, as I'm working each year, I'm working through another negative belief that has been planted deep in my mind, right? Those toxic beliefs that we take on as children, that there's something wrong with us, or that we're not good enough, or, oh, you're too much, or who are you to think that, right? Whatever version you have of that. For me, it's always been, being too big. Like, oh, take it down a notch, Svava. You're just too full of yourself. You're too loud. Oh my gosh. I heard that so much. But it's that relentless energy of mine that just comes through from my heart. And I can't help myself that my love for life and people just is too much for some people. Nothing wrong with me. And I finally learned, Wanda, right? Just to show up and see who wants to hang up. Not everybody likes me. Not everybody has to like me. Not everybody has to want to hang out or hear what I have to say. And I'm okay with that. But I'm just going to continue to show up and share from the heart, share my healing journey, share what has worked for me, empower and support those that are seeking. Because that's it too. Once I found, oh my gosh, I can heal. I can restore. I'm not broken. I'm not stupid. Hey, friend. Happy New Year. Thanks, Iris. I can't help. My heart just wants to tell other people about it. And that's what's so beautiful for all of us. When we heal our heart, we, of course, want to lift up those around us. Was my time of this weekend. Well, I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. So I'm continuing to tap. If anybody needs to be reminded, if while we're talking, keep tapping, keep tapping. The nervous system that starts to climb up, right? This is our nervous system. When it starts to climb up into the little bit of fight or flight, it gets anxious, it gets excited, a little bit of that is okay. But when it tips into overwhelm and too much, gang of guys work knowledge on my life. Awesome. Stancy, is that it? Stancy? Good for you. We need a community of people speaking our language, hanging out, talking about, we need to normalize this conversation. There's just so much trauma out there. Unfortunately, life is hard. Trauma happens. And to learn to understand what it does to our biology, what it does to our nervous system, our bodies, our minds, our spirits. And then we can feel empowered as we learn to work with what we got, work with what we got. So Wanda says, let's see, I like the new look of the pages. Thank you, Wanda. I thought we'd spice it up a little bit this year. This is a year 3 for our group. Awesome. Excited to see how it develops this year because, yes, healing journey takes time. One page, one layer of the onion. Go and dig deeper. I wanted to speak to that, Wanda, but I didn't want to push. I hope I good now. Yes. Good to hear. Just trying to judge myself harshly and accept that it was okay that I didn't know everyone in that group. I hear you, Wanda. I hear you. Again, that's why it is good to have a safe place to practice. But part of practicing is then also to step out of our comfort zone, expand a little bit, get to know more people, right? Hey, Donna. Hey, friend. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. All right. So today's topic, let me set up the conversation. And just like I said, if you have any comments or questions about trauma recovery or would like to share your thoughts, please jump in. We'd love to hear from you. So releasing your authentic self, day 2, before I began my healing journey, I turned all my anger, my pain and shame that I felt from my abusive past outward. Yes, a lot of it went inward, but a lot of it also went outward and spilled into others. Unfortunately, it did not look fun or pretty. And I think how it spilled over the most was how controlling I was. Because I had no idea how to control what was going on in here, control the shame or the fear or the anger or the hurt. But so that showed up for me and spilled over into the people around me by me trying to control. I was a micromanager. Can't tell you how much I've apologized to my children for how harsh I used to be with them when they were babies, especially my girls. I just simply did not know. I did not know that that's how I was acting out. And my unexpressed inner feelings were really showing up outwardly in that way. So let's see here. Unfortunately, lashing out at others with powerful feelings allowed me to manipulate people to get what I wanted, right? Because I also didn't know how to ask for what I want or needed, for wanted or needed. I would be maybe passive aggressive about it, controlling, or, right? It was not very clear. I was not very clear. Yes, so I would manipulate people to get what I wanted because I wanted people to act a certain way to prevent these feelings, right, from coming up. I would then also make other people responsible for my feelings. And that's exactly what we were talking about in Facebook just a little bit. Now that I've taken responsibility for my feelings, now that I've come home and into my body, thank goodness we talk a lot about self-compassion here because, oh my gosh, once I realized that I was not fun or pretty to be around for a long time, because I was petrified of people finding out the truth, right? We talked about this earlier. People find out the truth of how horrible I am, because that's really how I felt on the inside, horrible. And so all the horrible feelings just kind of fed on themselves. It was a big mess, big mess. So I would then act out and want other people to fall in line, do as I told them to, right? Because I was in charge. I knew best. So I was trying to push my need for safety and security and control in here, out here, onto other people. So, and if they didn't act within what my comfort zone allowed, I withheld love or affection to punish and blame them for my circumstances. This made for an endless, unhealthy cycle in my relationships. So the two questions today, just food for thought, right? Just something to think about. If you are often angry with others, how can you express your anger in a healthier way? Another way to say or think about this, how can you identify your anger and understand where it's coming from? Is it really about the other person, or is it about you or an old feeling inside of you, right? Yes, I know it can be tricky in the beginning. Your anger, yes, that's right. Owning up to your own stuff is a big part of being free. Absolutely. Absolutely. So remember, the person is not your problem. Your anger is a reaction from an old story that has been triggered by something that they may have said or done. Right? Something to think about. Something to think about. So that was the question. If you're often angry with others, how can you express your anger in a healthier way? And the second question, what are you afraid of when you feel like you need to try to manipulate or control others? What story is playing out that pushes you to try to control others? Again, this is about reflecting on ourselves. And this is also very, very important. If you see something that you don't like, be gentle with yourself, right? You learn to be this way. All our coping strategies, all our way acting out sometimes, often it's a survival strategy. It was a survival strategy to numb the pain. It was a survival strategy to get your needs met, right? Because most of us had no healthy examples, no healthy adults out here modeling healthy ways to talk about your feelings, express your feelings, ask for support. None of that. None of that. So we do what we have to do. We do what we have to do. And we are resilient in that way. We find a way to get our needs met. And unfortunately, many of the ways that we learned growing up to get our needs met weren't healthy or helpful. And certainly now for us adults, get in the way of us having healthy, loving, relationships. So Wanda commented in the group today in our Facebook page. So she shared here, I'm happy to say, thank you, Wanda, for giving me permission to share. She says, I'm happy to say I no longer act out of anger as a reflex 100% of the time. High five, my friend. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Right? Can you guys relate? Can we validate Wanda? Thank you so much. We're all work in progress, my friend. Right? There was for many, many years, everything that went wrong in my life. Yes, part of it I always thought was my fault, right? I blamed myself for everything that went wrong out here. But I was also very critical because I was so critical of myself. I was also very critical and judgmental and of other people. But the more I started to recognize that this was like my automatic reflex, and I started to taking a look at why I was responding that way. Wait a minute, right? This is an automatic reaction based on what happened in the past. But now, yes, Wanda, I was very defensive. Of course you were defensive. Makes sense, right? I was fighting for my life 24/7 for years. Like immediately knuckles up, right? Don't come at me with anything because I'm going to fight you back. So if I felt so horrible inside, it's very hard to respond to anything other than defensively. So she goes on to say, although it was seldom that I injected my anger onto others, it was always inward, whether acting out in a way that physically hurt others, which ultimately costed me something more valuable than the physical pain that I've caused others. Yes, right? In a way that physically hurt others, which ultimately cost me something more valuable than the physical pain that I've caused others. Today, when I feel the emotions of anger, I try to take a deep breath and I come back to my true self with rational thoughts, which brings about appreciative behaviors. Yes, exactly. Thank you. I've gotten better at verbally expressing myself for the most part, she says, without the use of profanity. I hear you, Wanda. There's a time and a place for that. But I hear you. I hear you. She says here to the second question, as far as manipulating others in a situation, I don't think I've ever done that. However, I believe I do just the opposite, and that is retrieve inward and blame myself, convincing myself that if I was a certain way, the situation would not have happened or would have been different. I hear you, Wanda. Absolutely hear you on that. So another thing that comes up for me here around, just to give you an example about when we're afraid or when we feel like we have to manipulate others and or because we don't know how to ask for what we need, what story is playing out that pushes you to manipulate or control. And this has been a very hard one for me to get around. And that one actually shows up around asking other people for help. Right. And it comes from my belief that nobody cares. Nobody wants to help me. No one is interested. And if I ask people for help, right, I always, for a long time, expected people to say no or to reject me or say, of course, nobody wants to help you. Why do you even ask? So it was for a long time, I would be tiptoeing around something. It was very hard for me to be direct, just to say, hey, I need this, or can you help me with this, or right, just to go straight to it, because I always it goes back to that defensiveness, is that I was so worried that people wouldn't want to help or that they would reject me or say no. But I was desperately, and I needed help. And then I was angry at myself for not knowing how to ask for something that to ask for support. So it was like it fed on itself. Do you guys get that? So then I recruited some people to help me, to help me practice. So, and it actually, even also as an adult, when I'm asking people for something that is out of my comfort zone, I actually will tell them it's very hard for me to ask for help around this. I'm used to going at it myself. I don't expect people to want to help me or to support me. And so, and then because it was such an important thing that I learned to do, because I would try to manipulate, meaning I would be doing things for people hoping that they would then give back. Like you do things in the hope that they would then, maybe do the thing that you are doing for them, right? It's like, it's crazy, codependent behavior. So Sue says here, I used to be outwardly submissive, but now I think I'm much more defensive. I hear you. And that's the other thing that can happen. We sometimes swing from one extreme to the other, right? We can kind of go back and forth, and then we can kind of come in the middle, and then we recognize, okay. And again, most of us, if we grew up with complex trauma or childhood trauma or neglect or abuse, this can take us a long time to sort out. So be gentle with yourself. Let's see here. Wanda says, I was always taught if you can't do it for yourself, you don't deserve it, right? There is another belief, right? And I had a strong belief growing up too that I was a burden, right? That I should take care of it. I should figure out a way to do it. And I was pretty darn resourceful, I have to say. But there are things that we need to ask for from other people. And it's excruciating when we have a painful story that we're not allowed, for some reason, to ask for what we need. Hey, Michelle. Hey, friend. Wanda says, Sue says here, yes, I always had reasons why people wouldn't or couldn't help me. And then Wanda, I'm a little better now, but a part of me still feels less than when I must ask for help, right? And it's interesting then that how our beliefs, our expectations will, our intentions are pretty powerful. We talked about this when we talk about mindfulness, right? It's like how the filter we put on and how we see the world is often how the world mirrors back to us. And when we don't believe we can have it or are worthy of it, we often end up attracting or putting ourselves in those exact situations. And for a long time, I kept asking all the wrong people for help. Right? I mean, I know I'm not alone, and I talk to a lot of survivors about this. It's like, well, we're often going after the people that either don't have it to give or can't give it to us, but we want it from them. But after a while, we recognize, okay, part of taking responsibility for ourselves today and where we are and what we need is to identify, yes, this is what I need, and to ask people, can you help me? Are you willing? And if people say no, doesn't mean that we weren't worthy of it, but maybe they just can't, the timing of it, whatever. So then is to keep going until we find people that can give and provide the thing. And instead of looking for that, we're feeding that old toxic belief that somehow we're not worthy of it. So it's tricky how this plays out in our lives, isn't it? So good to see you, Minnie. So glad that you're here. So thank you, Wanda. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your sharing your comment today. Absolutely appreciate that. So now I want to turn it to you guys. So what are your healing goals for 2020? What are you working on? Where are you at? What questions do you have? Are you stuck? How can I support you? Take a minute if you need to. What are you working on right now on your healing journey? I want to open it up to you guys. Okay, nope, Sue, I did not see your comment. I will refresh and look again. Thanks for giving me a heads up. Let's see here. There it is. Thank you, Sue. This I'm going to share what Sue shared today, and that gives you guys some time to think about if you'd like to share. What is your healing goal for this year? If you are healing on your recovery journey after trauma or abuse, I'd love to hear. And if you're looking for resources or any type of support or have any questions, we are here for you. But Sue shared with us today, she says, I have always been very afraid of anger, and I still find it pretty difficult to express. Instead, I have turned it inwards and hard on myself. That's caused so much stress to build up in my body. And it's only recently that I've been able to start recognizing and occasionally expressing anger towards others. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Sue. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, anger is a tough one. Anger is very tough. She goes on to say, when in the past I have manipulated others, it's often been to do with not coping with the way they were acting and wanting to change them. These days, it's more about not wanting others to be able to control me. Maybe that is not so different. That's a very good question, Sue. Very good question. And I think ultimately, I think on both sides, it is about control, right? It is about control. So I want to celebrate you, my friend, for your clarity here, because it all starts with, okay, I'm going to come home to myself. I'm going to look deep inside and recognize how, right, the past keeps showing up in my life. It's impacted how I feel about myself. It's impacted how I think about myself. It has impacted how, my core beliefs about who I am. And inherently, when we struggle with asking for our needs, some of our very basic human needs, we continue to, right? We are protecting that fear. That what is inherently wrong with me? Why wasn't I loved and protected and supported as a child? And when we struggle with that deep fear inside, we will do the dance, right, out here to, again, we can't control what's going on in here, but we're going to try to control what's happening out here. And everybody does it. Everybody does that in some form or another. Absolutely. So be gentle with ourselves. And thank you, Sue. Thank you, Sue. Lots of wisdom in your sharing, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And the most important part is that right? How hard are we being on ourselves? We are so, so, so hard on ourselves. And especially that anger, right? It just feeds on itself. Feeds on itself. We're angry because we can't ask for what we need. We are, angry because maybe in the past we couldn't speak up for ourselves. We are angry because we feel like, we let people walk all over us, and we're angry because people are walking all over us, right? And so the anger part of needing to set a boundary and speak up, and then the outrage for the hurt, and maybe even the original hurt, it all gets mashed up together. So, and that's where, my favorite approach, sorry, is to try to do our best, of course, always just do our best. And in a way that I have found helpful is to try to keep it as simple as possible. And this is Dr. Margaret Paul and her inspiration. What she teaches. She's the inner bonding therapist, inner child work therapist, and how she talks about it. It's like, right, there's only really two ways to be. And thank you for your question. I'll come back to it just a sec. And either we are, loving, open, curious, connected, and trusting, or, which is usually then we're in our adult self, we are in the present moment, trusting, or if we are defended, protected, judging, avoiding, chances are then that we are in our wounded self, in our old self, our inner child. So to learn to navigate these two states, these two ways of being, is often helpful when we are assessing, some of these beliefs and how, where does this anger come from? Where does this need to control or to manipulate come from? Because a lot of it comes from our inner child, from our hurt self. But once we help our hurt self to heal, learn to be present in our bodies as we express our feelings, and we're clear about what are my feelings and what are your feelings, where do I begin and end and where do you begin and end, then there is more peace about what's happening with other people. There's no lesser need to try to control and manipulate, because you know what you need and you trust and you are clear about asking for what you need. So let's see here. Sue Michelle says, I have a cognitive behavioral exam on Wednesday. Awesome. I hope it goes well, my friend. And Sue finishes up here with saying this. So this year, I'm continuing to work on accepting myself more without judgment and self-compassion. Beautiful, Sue. And that's it. That's it. We are all work in progress. Thank you, Suzanne. We're all work in progress. And the greatest tool that we can use as we are healing and restoring and learning about things that we maybe adapted or took on along the way to try to get our needs met that aren't necessarily healthy or helping us today. Practice self-compassion. Be kind towards yourself. So let's see here. We have a question, my friends, on Periscope. I am a survivor. My brother makes fun of what happened to me, and I get angry, and he's happy when I get angry. I am so sorry that your brother is making fun of you. That is very cruel, my friend. And that's not okay. That is very disrespectful. And that makes me feel sad. That is very traumatizing. That is very disrespectful. So I don't see the question you were asking what to do. Let's see, I'm scrolling down here. Bear with me. My device is not cooperating. She says, what can you do when outside factors make fun of what happened to you? That was your question. Yes. Well, like I said, first of all, I'm very sorry that you were abused, that you were hurt. And I'm very sorry that you have someone in your life that makes fun of you. That is absolutely not okay, my friend. Not okay. Whatever happened to you, any abuse or trauma is not your fault. Not your fault. And I know it's not easy, but if there's any way that you can find a way to speak your truth in terms of speaking up about how that impacts you, and to trust that this what this person is doing to you is totally unacceptable. I mean, it sounds like this is a family member, so it may be hard for you to remove yourself completely from that person. But I would do my best to have a hard boundary about this topic is not up for discussion, right? This is not something you want this person to be commenting on. Like, this is your life. This is what happened to you. You're not asking them for comments or feedback on it. And I would encourage you to do the best you can to get support from other people, other survivors, to recognize that that's very hurtful. That is very hurtful. I'm very sorry. Rob here on YouTube says, I would be inclined to think that the sibling was abused too and perhaps can't face it or admit it. And so making fun of you is a way for them, right? They're acting out in a way. Maybe that you're speaking about something that they can't speak about. So I don't know if that rings a bell for you, but I am very sorry that, like I said, that you were abused, and I'm also very sorry that you're made fun of, because being abused is never your fault, never your fault. And I'm very sorry to hear that. So. I'm here for you, my friend. Here for you, my friend. Any other comments, questions? Yes. You have some friends here on Facebook that are sending you some love. So we are very sorry to hear that that's what has happened. Well, my friends, I am excited and grateful that we are here today, starting our new year. Hey, friend, 2020, another year of healing together in our community and loving and supporting each other on the journey. I pulled a card for us. Sue, you're funny. I pulled a card for us. I always end our Periscope and YouTube live streams by pulling a card. I have this beautiful deck. And today, like always, I got a beautiful card. And today it says, one day she woke up and realized hope was embracing her. So maybe this was the message that you needed today. Isn't that beautiful? So I hope you are feeling, feeling hope and encouragement from our chat today. Please know that in our safe space here, we hear you, we see you, we validate you, we encourage you. And please join us anytime if you're on YouTube. If you want to go on YouTube and you search for the channel by the name of my book, Releasing Your Authentic Self, and here on Periscope as well. I am here Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You're welcome, my friend. So we are here twice a week when I can. And I appreciate the hearts, my friends, over here on Periscope and over on YouTube. If this conversation inspires you and supports you, I always appreciate the thumbs up, the likes. And on YouTube, you can subscribe, and that way you will get notifications when I go live. So I will also put information under the video here on YouTube with links to my website or where you can find me on social media. But I want to thank you guys for today. It was great to see you, Minnie. Good luck this week. Thank you, friends, for your loving support always. Always, always, always. You want to see the back of the cards? Sure. These are the cards. And then this is the card that I pulled for us today. Women and the Hourglass. I have a few deck of cards that I use. I love pulling cards. Today, and usually here, I pull these cards because they're so simple, but say so much. Yes. So thank you, sweet friends. Have a beautiful weekend coming up. Go out in nature, do something that sparks joy. But thank you again for being here. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week, Tuesday. And Sue, I will be seeing you tomorrow. I can't wait to see you, my friend. All right. Thank you, Rob. Thanks, friends. Until next time. Bye, guys.